All right, little sunrise. So today we're going to talk about self-love. For those of you that have been or seen some of my other talks, we're going to incorporate a lot of those concepts, but from just a different perspective. Okay, and these are really good steps to help you define self-love for yourself. And so from that point, we can go and really love others. All right. And this is always an open format. So I know there's a chat feature and stuff, but if you guys have any questions, you can either chat and maybe Christy or Mike will kind of let me know, or you can just talk. You guys are really small on my screen, so I really can't can't see you, but I kind of know you're there. And sounds like there's no other noise, but if by chance you have dogs or anything that are going to be distractive, just during that part, maybe just mute yourself. And yeah, there you go. And then, so I'm going to get started, guys. All right. So the first thing is loving yourself unconditionally, yourself and others. And so this is really, I would say, one of the biggest keys. There's a lot of times that we have self-doubt, or we have low self-esteem, or we've had other blocks, I would say, in our life that keep us from loving ourselves. So one of the things that I do for myself each and every morning is I get up and I set an intention. And a lot of times it'll be multiple intentions for that day. But I can tell you that if you set your intention for acceptance and forgiveness, right, then you're going to be able to accept and love yourself. What you want to do is focus on being loved and loving others. And a lot of times with forgiveness, it's going to tear down the walls. It's going to open up the opportunity to really, really fall in love for yourself. We all have things in our life and our past that have really just put a peril on us, that have really just put a burden on us, a lot of regret, a lot of guilt, a lot of shame. But giving yourself the opportunity to truly find forgiveness is one of the biggest keys. There's a story that I've shared quite a few times with this, and I was flying from Oklahoma City back to Omaha, and during this time, Omaha had casinos, but Oklahoma City didn't. And there was a lobbyist, and I sit down next to him, and he was just saying, yeah, I called my wife from the airport, and I told her that I was going up to Omaha to go gambling. And I was like, what? It's like, you didn't plan this out before? Like you hadn't talked about this the whole week, and you didn't tell her during lunch? You just drove to the airport, booked a flight, and went to Omaha, and you're telling your wife? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, how long have you been married? And they've been married a long time. They've known each other since kindergarten or something. And I asked him, we had an in-depth talk, but he told me, I said, what's the number one key to successful marriage? And he goes, forgiveness. Because if you're not able to forgive the other person, then you're always building up these walls. And then when an argument or a discussion or a fight comes on, then what happens is you bring up all those things that person did over the years and years and years, and it's just repetitive. Well, you did this, and you did this, and you did this. So you're really, truly not forgiving that person and moving on. You're hanging on to that. So really, one of the biggest keys on loving yourself is forgiving yourself from all those things in the past and being able to move on and view that as an opportunity to learn, not maybe as a mistake. And then the second part to this is acceptance, of really truly accepting who you are on all levels, and we're going to dive into a little bit deeper about comparison and things like that here in a few minutes, but really just accepting who you are physically, mentally, and spiritually today, and realizing that you are more than enough and that you are capable. And so through these slides, every once in a while, I'm going to ask some questions that you can journal and write down. And so, the question I have for you on this slide, if you want to think about it and contemplate it, is what is holding you back from allowing yourself to love yourself and others unconditionally without expectations? Are you agreeing to lose as much as you love? The more you allow yourself to become vulnerable, the more you are allowing yourself to be loved. All right. So the next slide is about just building awareness. To love really without limits. And so this dives into more of all the sensations that we have of being present and being mindful and being here. So the feelings that we have externally and internally, and I'll just kind of recap those real quick. So the first thing I do is when I get up in the morning, well, I don't get up, I just lay in bed and I just start feeling what's going on in my body, like physically, mentally, and spiritually. How do I feel? Do I feel rested? Do I feel a little tired? Do I feel a little nauseous? What parts of my body are in a lot of pain? What parts of my body have hardly any pain? And I start analyzing and developing just a sense of awareness. And then I start thinking about like the temperatures of the room and the feeling of the sheets and the pillows and all those things. And then I kind of go into how I feel. Am I a little depressed? Am I a little anxious? Or do I have a lot of joy? Do I have a lot of peace today? Right? And from all of these awareness is how we begin to set our intention. And then what you see externally. So, I live in the Rocky Mountains, so my view is always amazing with the creek in the front and the canyons. And, every day I see elk or deer or a variety of different wildlife and all the trees that are around me. So wherever you're at, whatever that scene looks like, just begin to observe that without any judgment, just bringing it all in. But then how you view yourself. How do you view yourself internally, right? So we go back to maybe the previous slide of acceptance and forgiveness, right? But start to begin to see yourself as that warrior, as that hero, as courageous, as that you're really truly more than enough. And when you do that, you see yourself different. You begin to feel different about who you are. And then hearing. So we're just building awareness of all the sensations that we have, of what we hear externally and what we hear internally, like that self-dialogue, right? So those times that we get a little depressed or we get a little anxious, right? What we begin to tell ourselves is that, this is where I screwed up in life, or I'm not capable, or I'm going to fail again, right? So when that self-dialogue comes up, we have the opportunity to really begin to retrain the brain, right? So with this awareness, I want you to really think about what does it feel like to love and be loved? Because when you really begin to love yourself completely, totally, and wholly, when you begin to fall in love with who you are and accept yourself, love yourself unconditionally, then you really have the opportunity to begin to love others and accept and respect others. And so think about, what does that really feel like, truly, when you're in love with yourself, and what it feels like to be loved by others. When you feel loved, you feel free to express and create without limits, without borders. When love flows through your veins, it provides a source of positive energy to all your cells that allow this healing energy to begin to flow, and you begin to find a life that really has no boundaries. And you begin to really find all those creative, juices and forces. And I feel like, and I'll use Tim as an example, because I feel like he has begun to feel this way over the past year, and he's really got creative with his woodworking skills. And he uses those gifts and those talents to share with the community. And I think he feels that way because of love. I've never asked him, but I'm assuming that he finally feels acceptance and he finds these gifts and he finds these talents, and he has fallen in love with really who he is. And I've never asked him. Tim, you can disagree with me. You what?
I'm getting there.
Yeah. But I can see like a lot of a transformation from when you came through the program to who you are, right? And a lot of times we don't see that within ourselves, but I really see that you have this abundance of love that you didn't have, I don't know, what was it, 2 years ago?
Year and a half ago, I guess.
Yeah. And so I'm just going to use him as an example because he's on this call with us, but he's really just started opening up to this whole new realm, This whole new realm of love, of acceptance of his self. And when you're always judging and always criticizing yourself, then you don't feel like you're worthy. You don't feel like you're capable. You don't feel like you have those talents and those gifts. So this is always one that I love to talk about, but it's releasing your attachments to success and failure. And I think most of these people are like Kansas City Chiefs, probably, right? And so I always use this as an example that, you know, if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl or the Royals win the World Series, I'm not into sports, so it always takes me a minute to remember what they are. They have these big parades and these big celebrations, right? But I feel that we should always have those celebrations, that we should always honor those people that have worked so hard and so diligently. But so many of us view it as a success or they view it as a failure, right? And that's how we view a lot of things in our own life, as a success and a failure. When you really begin to release all your attachments to that, then you're able to be present, you're able to be mindful, you're able to become and transform into that warrior, that hero. And so, you know, being mindful allows you to be truly present. You know, it allows you to begin to feel different and see things different and hear things different because you're not distracted. You know, if you want to journal on this slide, one of the questions would be, you know, what's distracting you from being present right now? You know, and you think, well, our minds always wander, right? And you're like, oh, I'm looking at his hair or background or what's going on. And, you know, now my dog is in here. Well, one of them, you know, so we always have a little bit of distractions that are keeping us from being present and being in the moment. But if you think about the big, maybe top 3 to 5 things that are stopping you from being alone with yourself, that why are you not able to really, truly be alone with yourself and be mindful, be present, to journal? You know, are you binge watching TV shows, or are you, you know, eating unhealthy foods, or whatever it is, your vice that you have? You know, what is it that's keeping you from being present? One of the biggest keys to self-love is stop comparing. Stop comparing yourself to others. And this is another dimension of releasing your attachments to success and failure. You know, I have a lot of friends, and one of my friends, I feel like she's always down on herself. She has low self-esteem, but she's always has that because she's comparing herself to other people. And she's always trying to buy things to bring her happiness. And a lot of times that's what we're doing, is we're filling up and trying to satisfy this hole, right? Of all we have to do is really love ourselves, accept ourselves, and forgive ourselves. And all these materialistic things that she keeps and continues to buy really doesn't fill her up. And so it's, you know, every couple of years, I've got to get a new car. Every couple of months, I've got to buy a new purse or all these clothes. And every couple of years, I've got to buy a new house. And what I've noticed is over the years, her joy is depleted. She's really looking in materialistic items, but I think truly what's going on in her life is that she's comparing herself to her past of who she used to be. She's comparing herself to other people around her. And what it does is it strips that joy, that peace, that love. And so really allowing yourself to release the attachments to your success and failures, and especially others, that you really are your own unique person, and that, you know, you don't have to have a conventional life to find joy and be happy. So just allowing yourself this opportunity to be present, to release everything, and not comparing yourself. That is one of the biggest keys in loving yourself. You know, that as we age, things change, right? You know, the body begins to deteriorate. We can't do the things that we used to do on certain aspects, but a lot of the other aspects are better. You know, spiritually, a lot of times, you know, mentally, you know, we are a lot better person. Spiritually, I would have to say that I'm probably a lot better person now than I was 10 or 20 years ago, right? Physically, I'm not as well shaped, but that's just part of the life and the journey. But if you go back to that original slide about acceptance and forgiveness, it's okay. It's finding who I am at this breath in this moment and realizing I'm always changing. And then assumptions are your enemy. You know, okay. Um, when we think about assumptions that are our enemy, a lot of times because we're assuming that these other people's life is so happy because of maybe some of these materialistic things. But we realize that within our own life, they haven't really brought us joy, so they're not really bringing these other people joy as well. So that is another key, is not assuming something else is bringing somebody else's joy, or that's why they're at where they are, maybe mentally, physically, or spiritually. But really, really begin to understand yourself and allowing yourself to be present and to be in this moment. When we have low self-esteem, a lot of times we look for an opportunity to criticize or condemn somebody else because we're comparing it. And what do we want to do is we want to feel better about ourselves, so we'll put the other person down. We belittle those people. And belittling others helps build ourselves up, and that's only temporarily. But if we love and accept ourselves, we respect ourselves and understand from their perspective. And then I think that's the next slide or two. We'll get in kind of to the perspective. A lot of times we confuse self-confidence with self-esteem. So self-confidence is about trusting yourself and your abilities. For example, you can be confident in certain areas such as woodworking, right? Or maybe yoga or mindfulness or things like that. But then insecure in other areas, right? So like for me, maybe it would be like, I don't know, I would say any sports, any type of sports. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I'm not really that competitive. So I would have a low self-confidence in that. But self-esteem, on the other hand, that's about how we view ourselves, how we really begin to transform and see ourselves as that warrior or that hero, and our self-worth, right? So no matter what happens, right, that if we fall and we see that not as a failure, as we see that as an opportunity to grow, all right? You guys doing good? You have any questions or comments or anything yet? No? All right. Goals, visions, and dreams. So, those of you that know me or have heard me speak before know that I say that I'm not really goal-oriented. I'm process-oriented. So last weekend on a whim, we decided to drive up to Wyoming. And we're like, we're going to check out the military base, and we'll drive around the town and we'll do some things. And so, I try to pick like one thing to do each day, just kind of one little highlight. And it's usually something in nature, something outside. And then there may be one or two things that I see on the way there, or one or two things that I see on the way back. And I get it. Goals are very important for a lot of people. But what I realized for myself personally is that when I'd write down all these goals on the fridge every year, that I only accomplished a couple of them. So to me, it's more about my visions and my dreams, right? And I'm going to encourage you to journal your journey, right? To start that process of writing down what's going on, of where you are today, so you can kind of reflect. It's very important to get to the why. Why are we having the feelings that we have, and the thoughts and the emotions? What's really going on behind that? So a lot of times you have to dive down and ask yourself why, to get really there. Why do I have all this anxiety? Why am I so frustrated about whatever, COVID or the politics or whatever? Why is this really a concern of mine? And why am I allowing this to affect me? But think about like really where you want to be. How is it that you can obtain self-love in your own journey, in your own path? What is it that's holding you back? What's restricting you? Why do you still have maybe these feelings of low self-esteem or low confidence? Why do you still have guilt and shame under certain circumstances, or fear or anxiety? But asking yourself the why is really going to get down to the root of this. So, if you have a pen, I want you to just write this first one down, is who are you? And then after this topic, I want you to answer that and just spend anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes of asking yourself, who are you, and writing it down. a mother, a daughter, a teacher, a spouse, whatever it is. But when you begin to describe yourself, I want you to just go through the exercise afterwards and really begin to define and understand who you feel like you are today. How do you see yourself today? And I encourage people to do this every few months, at least every 6 months, to write it down. And then, you always put the date on there. And then you go back and look and see what your perspective is of yourself and how you transformed. One of the things with any vision or dream or goal is that we have to take steps each and every day. And that's why it's so important to journal, to write down where you want to be, who you want to be, where you want to go. And make sure that you're taking those steps every single day to accomplish those dreams, those visions, those goals. And once again, you just want to journal this. And then think about the roadmap to success. So just envision yourself full of love. Vision yourself right now full of acceptance and unconditional love. That you really, really, truly have just tore down all the walls, all the barriers, everything that's blocking you from being that person that truly does love, that truly does accept, that truly does forgive. One of the things that I do every year is a vision board, and I keep it at my desk. And so I think you can kind of see that. And then I actually did things on the back for daily self-love practice. I don't know if you can see it. It's probably too bright. But this is part of my journey and my path, and just a reminder each and every day. Creativity without expectations, because a lot of times we want to be perfect, right? And so I have reframe in here, and we'll talk about that too. Reframe rejection as redirection. And so maybe for you, these are the things that you need to do in your life to really take your self-love to the next step. They're just suggestions, but things that have really helped me through this journey and this path. All right. Request assistance, train and retrain. We always need help. And this is like, if you look at the photo here, I kind of took this photo and framed it with the trees. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit in a minute. And it's tough for some of us because we don't even realize it. But one of the things is connect with a mentor. So, like Mike Kinney is a great mentor. We talk frequently, and we talk about a lot of different aspects. But find a mentor in your life. Find somebody in your life that has the experience and that it's where you want to be, right? That person that you look up to, that you admire, and don't be afraid. And just sit down and just say, hey, can we schedule, a call, once a month, once a week, whatever it is that you're available. There's one lady that I talk to at 11 o'clock every Monday. And so she calls me every Monday, and we talk, and we talk about different topics and subjects to help her because, she's struggling with a lot of different aspects and concepts. So find that mentor or find a therapist, a counselor, that's somebody that's going to help you train and retrain your brain. That every day we have to do that, right? Every day we have to remind ourselves, and it always takes work, right? And then once again, inquire with those that you trust. So when I owned a CC's Pizza, I had like 4 or 5 workers, not managers, but workers, like somebody that would work the register or, maybe cut pizzas or bust dish or whatever it was that I really admired. And what I admired about them was that they were just so genuine and that they would just tell me how it is, right? So I would sit down and I would say, okay, me and you are going to have a meeting, and you're going to give me feedback on how I can do my job better. And they're like, what? You own this restaurant. Like, you already know everything. And I'm like, yeah, but I can do things better. And so to me, that's why it's important to pick one person from like each kind of subject or topic of what they did. So bus or dish, or somebody that cooked the pizzas or cut the pizzas or register or whatever it was. But I trust those people. And I trust that they would give me really critical feedback and really help me become a better manager, a better person, a better franchisee. So find those people in your life that you really trust, right? Those Tims. I'm going to say Tim because I know Tim was just going to shoot it to me straight, right? He's not going to lie to me, right? So find those Tims in your life that you can reach out to and say, hey, I have questions regarding this topic and this subject. Can you advise me? Can you tell me how I can do better maybe on this? So find those people. A lot of times we need those people in our life to help find our dreams and our goals and our visions. Sometimes we need to have those people to help us find our gifts and our talents, because a lot of times we don't really know. We don't see ourselves as that person giving to the community, or we don't know which realm or which avenue we really are talented in. And finding that person from a different perspective will help us get to that point where we really truly can love ourselves, because we know that we're making a contribution, right? So reframe your perspective. So I'll give you a couple examples, and I think they're hilarious. So there's all these city people that move out here to Evergreen, and they're on Nextdoor. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like a website that you sign up, and they also have an app. But like if you're selling something or buying something, or you want somebody to paint your house or whatever it is, it's on there. And I always laugh because once a month there's somebody that moves from the city and they don't know wildlife. Like this lady posted a photo and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I got a mountain lion in my driveway today." And it was a bobcat, right? So everybody's like being nice to her, right? But she doesn't know. Her perspective of what she is in reality is that's a mountain lion. It's not a mountain lion, it's a bobcat. But she thought it was a mountain lion. She probably is still like doubting herself. And then last week, this lady's like, I don't know, I'm laughing, but she's like, "Hey, I live up here on Kerr Gulch, and somebody lost their ferret, and this is where I'm at, so I can't catch the ferret, but it's over here, so if you want your ferret, come get it." Well, it wasn't a ferret, it was a weasel. And so those are just examples of like, this happens to our life each and every day. That our perspective we really think is true. We really think that those are mountain lions. Or we really think somebody lost their ferret. Or we really think that we're not capable. Or we don't think that we're loved. Or we don't think we're good enough, but we are. Right? We are more than capable. We're more than able to love ourselves, to forgive ourselves, to accept ourselves. We're able to do all those things and find an abundance of life, to find joy, to find peace, to find the opportunity to live a life truly free, without borders, without all the weight. And so through this process, think about what you can really control. And the things that I say that you really can control is your breath and then your intentions, right? So even the thoughts, we have some control. They come and go. You can reel them back, right? You can train and retrain the brain, but really, the breath and your intention is what you can control about yourself, and allow the other people, just to do what they need to do, right? And don't worry about that. Don't compare yourself. Just love and accept yourself for who you are. All right. Environmental, change. So a lot of times we need to change our environment, right? And change requires energy, effort, right? It requires sometimes some frustration on our part, but it requires us stepping out of our comfort zone. So I always say, find a tribe that serves you. Find those people in your life that really, really are going to build you up, that are going to lift you up, that are going to love and accept and respect you, right? Because that's part of healthy boundaries. Because if you're in a relationship with people that are not serving you, but that are really bringing you down, then that's just going to create more animosity, more anxiety, more doubts in yourself, lower self-esteem in yourself. So, maybe 5 people, I don't know, whatever it is in your life that you feel like you need to be close to. However, maybe it's just one. This is a group of people that went through Warriors Ascent with the mayor of Kansas City, and it's a great group of people, and all the providers of Warriors Ascent are just, top notch. They truly, truly care about the community. They truly care about saving lives. So Warriors Ascent really gives me a purpose. It gives me an opportunity to serve and to connect. And so to me, that's primarily my tribe, right? I have, my family that's really loving and caring, and then I have a few friends But, all these people that have graduated through Warriors Ascent are truly my tribe and my connection and give me a purpose. So find that in your life. Find what really gives you a purpose that excites you when you wake up, and that you have all this ambition and energy and just motivation, right? So healthy boundaries with ourselves and others, that is a whole different topic in a workshop altogether. But that's one of the things that's really going to help you find the love that you need for yourself. That self-love is kind of guarding your heart, but also opening your heart. Because you want to make sure that you can open your heart to those people that are respectful, that are accepting. You don't want to open your heart to those people that are going to damage you. And that is one of the keys right there, is healthy boundaries and understanding that, right? And limiting your time, So even if you have a relative or a friend that you feel like you need this relationship and it's not always as healthy as you want it to be, maybe just put a time frame on there, to when you call them, you're only going to talk to them 15 or 20 minutes. Or if the conversation turns to, a vein that you're really uncomfortable or that you begin to feel unhealthy and sick and just kind of nauseous over, either say, I'm not comfortable about talking that, or let's change the topic, or maybe it's time to just end the conversation. But a lot of that is that same dialogue that you have with yourself. How do you feel when you talk to yourself about yourself? And I think when you go through and do that exercise of who am I, you're going to begin to realize how you view yourself. And just allow yourself to really be like worry free. That you're in the moment, right? You don't have the attachments to success and failure, that you're able to just be okay. And you have enough confidence in yourself that you're not really worrying about all these things. I hear a lot of people say that, I'm worried about my child, or I'm worried about my bills or my finances. I'm worried this and worried this. And so a lot of times what we speak, we need to reframe that as well. And think about how you can rephrase that maybe into a positive manner in your life. So I always say that, relationships aren't work, they're challenging, because work has a lot of negative connotation. So think about the things that you say and the things that you're saying to other people. And if you can eliminate a lot of that negative energy, then you're allowing yourself that opportunity to even go to the next step for self-love. So the holistic lifestyle, right? So we make time for what's important is one of my favorite phrases all the time, because it's true. Whatever's a priority in our life, we're going to make time for it. So make sure that you're taking time each and every day for self-care, and what that looks like today could look different in 6 months or 6 years, but really think about and journal your concept of self-care and what that means. Definitely some time for journaling. To me, it's like hot tub and a sauna, acupuncture and a massage. Those are all my versions of self-care. One of my favorite is I try to go for a hike every day, and I just go outside with the animals, and I'm able to see nature and things like that. So those are a lot of my versions of self-care. Your version could be different, but I'm going to encourage you to write that down as well and think about how you define self-care, right? And think about what habits and traits are successful and what habits and traits are unsuccessful. So once again, as we begin to retrain the brain and we begin to think about new concepts, what has really worked for you in the past? What has really brought you joy, love, and peace? And then what is it that you're always wanting more and you need these more that really don't serve you, right? That's not filling the hole. So it's something maybe materialistic of the things that you're buying or indulging in. And you're trying to escape being alone with yourself. So think about the habits, the traits, that goes with exercise and diet and, what you're eating, how you're sleeping, what you're watching, all those things in your environment. A lot of those you may need to change as well to really find that self-love and the self-care that you have. All right. You want to be, let's see what this next slide is. Yeah. You want to be as authentic as possible. So redirect yourself and others. So a lot of times people have the wrong perception of you, And it's our job to redirect them back to our authentic self. And what that does is it resolves conflict, right? It resolves any kind of anxiety or fear. And a lot of times, we don't even know who we are. We haven't discovered that ourselves. So that's one of the biggest keys through this journey and this path is understanding who you are in your true authentic self. You know, allowing yourself to really become vulnerable, transparent, raw, and authentic is going to allow you to really just be yourself and not compare yourself and not try to keep up the Joneses and not try to buy a new car every 2 years and not have to always replace, certain materialistic items every 6 months, but really just finding the opportunity to be more raw and more authentic, of loving yourself and accepting yourself, of when you hop on the scale or if you have a scale that you realize that your weight does not define you, right? That is not it. That, some of us have different body types, but we love every part of ourselves. We love every single cell of who we are, and we're okay with our weight, right? That's not defining us at any level. So give yourself the opportunity to really, really become transparent. Let me see what I have here. Letting go of the ego. A lot of times this deals with our ego. And it causes an avoidance to be in the real you, right? So once again, if we're trying to compare and trying to be somebody we're not, we're really not allowing ourselves to be authentic. We're not really allowing ourselves to love ourselves to that whole level. Let me see. Allow yourself to become vulnerable and open. Open to change, open to being real, open to being present in this moment without doubt, without fear. Allow yourself to be strong and courageous. Today is the day to live life to the fullest. All right. We're almost done, guys. So community connection. Serving the community. This is one of the things that really allow us to love ourselves is when we give back and we begin to serve the community. So once again, it kind of goes back to your gifts and your talents. When I retired 7 years ago, I was kind of lost and didn't know what to do. And I was like, well, I really like the Nelson Museum, so I'm going to volunteer there. And I really like the War Memorial, so I'm going to volunteer there. And so I volunteered at each one of those like 1 day a week. And it really gave me a purpose because it fit both of my gifts and talents. I love the military. I love the service. I love those people that sacrifice. But I also love the arts. And I love the Nelson because of everything that it offers, right? It has like the happy hours and the Thursday things and all the variety of different things. So it was really helpful for me, right? So, and then all of a sudden, I was doing yoga and I was serving the community with yoga and mindfulness and meditation. So things like that. So for you, your gifts and talents are going to be unique. You may have to go back again and find somebody and ask them, what do you think my gifts or my talents are to help serve the community? But this really allows you to love yourself because you're giving back. It gives you a purpose. And I always say, expect the unexpected, because each and every day, those unexpected events are going to occur. And how do we deal with them, right? So do we tell ourselves that we're not enough or that we're not capable? Or a lot of times, like if it's first thing in the morning, something happened and we're like, oh, that just ruined my whole day. My whole day is just ruined, right? How many times have we said that in our lives, right? So reframe that, retrain that, and give yourself the opportunity to say, oh, I know something unexpected is going to occur. Like yesterday for me, it was a flat tire. Last week, I got timing belt, water pump, new brakes, new battery, and new tires on my 4Runner. And then I wake up to a flat tire. So I didn't expect that because these tires are brand new, right? So it's how do I deal with that situation, right? Can I say, oh, that ruined my whole day? Or can I be like, okay, how am I going to resolve this issue? How am I going to find abundance and joy through this? How am I going to find the opportunity to love, right? Because there's going to be those people in your life that are rude, disrespectful as well. Those unexpected events. How can we still love them and love ourselves? And through the decisions that we decide to make, really, really care for ourselves and others, right? So, and then compassion. So when we have compassion for ourselves and compassion for others, then we really truly have a different perspective, right? Because another concept of that would be empathy. So if you understand the other person's situation of why they're driving so erratic or so rude, or maybe why somebody's being so rude and inconsiderate to you on the phone, right? Or on social media, right? Just give yourself the opportunity to redirect of who you are, of who you want to be, that you really want to be loved and accepted, and you want to give that to others. I think that's it, guys. Do you have any questions, any feedback?